Welcome those of you joining us on YouTube. We are excited to have you. We'll get started here in just a few moments. To start the day, though, you can share your school name and grade or class in the comment section, and we can give you a shout out. We probably won't be able to recognize everybody, but feel free to add your name and where you're from in the comment section. And we will get started here on both YouTube and Zoom in just about 30 seconds or a minute. All right, a few shout outs. We have Dustin Steenblocks, Mr. Steenblocks, Senior High Sustainable Ag class in Ashby, Minnesota. Welcome. We have McDowell Montessori, Mrs. Danielle's class is excited to be here. Welcome to you. And we have a few others, but it's 10:01 according to my watch, so we are going to get started today. So a few notes before we get going on our virtual field trip to R&R Cultivation. First of all, we have a live captionist with us, so feel free to turn on the captions in Zoom and also in YouTube if you would like to have those streamed across the bottom of your screen. Also, if you have any questions for our hosts today, please use the Q&A feature if you are watching in Zoom, or the comment feature in YouTube to ask those questions. In the past, we've had so many questions, we haven't been able to ask all of them, but we'll try to get through a bunch to ask our hosts today. Also, we are working with a group of students from Wayzata High School to plan this virtual field trip, and they have created some awesome teacher resources that we'll be sharing information or links for those, but they can be found on our Minnesota Agriculture in the Classroom webpage under the Classroom Connections or Curricular Connections. So we'll share more information about that throughout the virtual field trip. But I want to introduce you to one of our Wayzata High School students who will be hosting today. Her name is Siri, and I'm going to hand it over to her and she can introduce herself in the class. Oh, actually, before I hand it to her, here's a picture of the 5 students that we've been working with. So we have Rachel and Jessica and Siri are in the back, and Siri, like I said, will be our host, and then Ellie and Reggie are in the front. Ellie is doing the technology, sharing screens and videos, and then Reggie has done a lot of different things for this project, but the one that you might see him in is he made a video of spinach, mushroom, and cheese omelet that are in those teacher resources. So, like I said, I want to introduce you to Siri, and she'll tell you a little bit more about this class.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name's Siri, and I'm a junior at Wayzata High School. And as a part of our Compass of Ecology of Food and Nutrition class, we were given the opportunity to work with Minnesota Agriculture in the Classroom in developing this month's virtual field trip, which will be the R&R Cultivation Mushroom Farm. We've been developing teacher resources, which will be really exciting, that we're really excited about at the end. And without further ado, I'll give it to Nick to get started on the virtual field trip.
Hi, everybody. Can you see me okay?
You look great, Nick.
All right. Welcome to R&R Cultivation. We started as a business about 2.5 years ago. We supply fresh mushrooms to everywhere in the Twin Cities here. We started out in farmers markets, which we still serve. And we also, if you go to Lunds and Bylerys or your local co-op, you'll see us on the shelf there as well. So my name is Nick Robinson. I'm the owner of R&R, and a brief introduction. We actually started this whole endeavor in a 3-foot by 3-foot tent down in my basement about 2.5 years ago. And we really got into mushrooms because we wanted to dial into local food systems. So really finding a way to bring fresh produce to make it more fresh and more local. We also focused on USDA certified organic. So 2.5 years ago, I was down in my basement. I had a 3.5 by 3.5 foot tent. with just a few mushroom blocks inside, which we're going to see once we go in back. And from there, I moved into a bigger tent into my laundry room, a 5-foot by 10-foot tent, so a little bit bigger. And then finally, my wife said, "Okay, honey, time to get this out of the house." And then we expanded into where we are today, and we've had some really good success. People are just really starting to understand and love mushrooms more. Nutritionally, what they can do, and just how good they taste. I think a lot of people are very much used to button mushrooms, the small little round ones, or maybe even the portobello caps that are a little bit bigger. So we grow a whole bunch of different types of mushrooms that are called first level decomposers, which means they don't grow in the dirt. They actually grow off of trees and other hardwoods. So actually, do we want to go over here and show them yeah. So if we look up here at the board, you can see all of the different species that we currently grow. And this isn't a full list. We still have more, but we have black pearls and chestnuts, golden oysters, lion's mane, shiitakes, piopinos, and pink oysters are seasonal, but then we have oyster mushrooms as well. So as we're on the tour today, keep an eye out for all these different types. All right. So I'm going to, does anyone have any questions for me on how we got started? Anything I can answer? We're going to go over all the cool stuff in a second here, but.
Yeah, you can keep going. There doesn't appear to be any questions yet, but.
Excellent. Okay. All right. Well, follow me back here. We're going to go back into the block facility, and we're going to start at the very beginning of the process where the mushrooms are grown on pellets and put into bags. It's actually happening right now. So it's pretty exciting. So come on back with me. We'll start at the beginning of the process. So this is an urban farm. So you can see all the way down here, these are all of our grow rooms are all down here. We're going to explore those in just a little bit. But we're going to peel off this way and take a look at the block making facility and kind of what goes into actually growing mushrooms. So let's start here at the very beginning. So if you want to get a close-up in here, so these are actually what mushrooms grow on. So these are pellets. They're USDA certified organic pellets that grow on, that are a mix of hardwoods and soy. So it's a very specific mix that the mushrooms just absolutely love. Pretty cool looking. So these, you can see they come out in cylinders like this. So they're pushed through a machine at a really, really high rate of pressure. So all the ingredients are mixed together. And then we get these cool little pellets. So those pellets are mixed together inside of a bag. So here's an example of a bag full of substrate. So we put a certain amount of these pellets inside of this bag, and then add water to it. And that's what the mushrooms will grow on. But first, because we want the mushrooms to have as good a chance as possible for growing really strong and healthy, we want to make sure that there's nothing else growing in here first. So it goes through a steam sterilization pasteurization process. So let's go back over in here, and we can actually show so come on in. So these are our sterilization tubs. Okay. So inside of here, hopefully the light is okay. But these are all of the blocks that we've put inside of here. So right now they're cooling down. So the blocks are made right outside this door. They come in here, and then you can see the steam comes in through the tubes, and then it brings it up to a certain temperature, and then they become sterilized. So it kills everything in there that might be living, bacteria. So that way, when we come over here, this is our lab. So I'll take a step in here and you guys can stay out there, but this is our lab. Hey, Rick. So, so the blocks are brought inside of here. These are HEPA flow hoods. So these have a really, really, really strong filter that filters out all of the bacteria, any viruses that might be in the air. And we do all these inside of this area. So the air is coming out from there. And you can see the spawn is added in, and then he brings it over to the machine and he heats up the bag and he seals it. And then this is what we get. So we get a bag. You can see the tiny little grains there. That's called grain spawn. So that's kind of the seeds for the mushrooms that we put in there.
Nick, we have a question that is, why do mushrooms like to grow in wood?
So not all mushrooms like to grow on wood. So that we can come back out here where it's a little bit more light. So not all mushrooms grow on wood. We grow what are called first level decomposers. So the first level decomposers prefer, think of it as a tree falls. As a tree falls, we it's broken down by mycelium, and mushrooms are actually just the fruiting bodies, the kind of the reproductive organs of mycelium. So some mushrooms grow on hardwoods, and some mushrooms will grow on like buttons and creminis and portobello caps. Those actually grow on wood that's more rotting. Usually there's some sort of manure mixed into it as well. So.
And where did the grain spawn come from?
Yeah, so the grain spawn, so there are a lot of different processes that take a lot of really, really, a lot of know-how to do them correctly. So we buy our grain spawn from one of our USDA certified partners, and then we have it shipped here. I don't know if we have any in here. Good. Oops. Fan down. So this is a bag of grain spawn. So this is a very, very concentrated. So what it is they take the spores and they make a mixture out of it, and then they jump it onto these grains that are called rye grain. Okay, it's just a very nutrient rich substance, and then you can see all the white. That's all the mycelium that just runs all over the place. So then
Nick,
we get
would
these
you mind
bags.
explaining what mycelium is exactly?
Yeah. So mycelium is the root system. It's the actual living organism of mushrooms. So a simple way to think of it is the mycelium is like the tree, right? There's that's actually the living part of the actual organism. It has a root system. Mycelium can be as large as 6 miles. They've found just huge mycelium structures underneath the ground, and it's all interconnected. It's all just one living organism. But that's the organism, and then when you expose it to the correct conditions, then it produces mushrooms. So mushrooms are kind of like apples to an apple tree. So they carry the seeds, and they're really good for us to eat.
Okay. And what do you call baby mushrooms? Is there a specific name for them?
No, nothing. You call them pins. So that's the initial stage, our pin sets. So we'll go over, that's actually a good segue. We can kind of head over into the grow rooms, and I can show you what those look like too.
Perfect.
Any more
questions?
questions?
Yeah, Nick, just to keep us rolling on time, let's go look at those growing mushrooms.
Let's do it. That's really the fun part, right? That's why we're here. So the last step I'll show you here. So we saw the blocks. Now, this is a block. As you can see, there's some brown parts still, and then there's some white parts, right? So those tiny seeds that we have, someone's in back mixing them and making sure that those seeds are spread out all throughout the block. So then when it gets to a certain point, once the mycelium, the root system, runs through all that really, really good, nutritious food for them, then they're ready to go into the grow rooms. So,
hey, Nick, before you go in the grow room, we have Michael
Yeah.
on YouTube that just really wants to know, why do you have the material in bags?
So you have to put the material in bags due to the sterilization process. So there's a lot of actually really cool technology up and coming for this to try and block that out, but you have to bring the internal temperature of the block up to about 200 degrees. So if you put that just inside of a regular bag, it would just destroy the bag. It would lose its integrity. And it's very important that as the mycelium is running through, there's a lot of things out here that block that we have is very nutritious, right? So a lot of different things are going to try and get into that nutrition and reproduce themselves, like bacteria. So by putting it inside of the bags, I'm actually going to show you one more thing on there. So these are specific mushroom bags. They have a filter patch on here. That's a 0.95 micron, which means that it filters all the way through to viruses and bacteria. So it's a one-way filter patch that just allows the mycelium to grow strong without other things coming in and attacking it before it's ready. Good question.
Yeah, we don't have many questions right now, so if you just want to move on to the
let's
mushrooms,
keep going. So we're going to explore a couple different mushroom rooms, and then I'll run and grab some bags from the other ones too and bring them out in the hallway. But let's go inside of one of our grow rooms. All right, so you can kind of see as we're coming in here, right? Right now we have air coming out from the sides. We have ducting that pulls air out, and then air that's pushed in from the sides here. So you can see in here, it's very foggy and very, very misty. We keep this room, all our grow rooms pretty much at between 85 and 95% humidity. So we want it really, really, really humid, but we also want it cool. The mushrooms grow a little bit slower in cooler environments, but also just like your fridge, when you put things in a fridge, it slows down bacteria. And that's the main enemy of mushrooms because they compete for the same nutrition. So, but as we're going through here, you asked what little miniature mushrooms look like. So if you want to come up here, you can actually see these are chestnut mushrooms. If you remember those from the beginning. So these are just baby pins pushing their way through. And you can see them over here as well. And let me grab this one.
And Nick, we have a question about the lights in the room. What do they do, or do they help with the growing process of the mushrooms?
Absolutely. I'm going to put this down here, but actually I'll just stand and talk with this. Why not? I'll give you something interesting to look at as we're going. So mushrooms are phototropic, but they don't photosynthesize. So where most plants actually take in sunlight and create energy from it, all of the energy to make all of these awesome looking mushrooms are all pulled from the nutrients inside of this block. So the lights, if you imagine mushrooms, right? They're trying to, let's say in a natural setting, they're going to be inside of a log or inside of a tree, right? The mycelium is going to be in there. In order for it to initiate the pinning, the small mushrooms, right, to grow into big mushrooms, it has to know that it's in a good place, right? So inside of the tree, there's no light, there's very little oxygen. So once it gets to the surface, then it hits light and it hits oxygen, and then it says, okay, we're in a good spot. Now let's grow and spread our spores. So there you go. So that's kind of the life cycle of why they're popping up right now. Just trying to find some. Oh, here's some. So here, if we look at these two, these are the same mushroom. So these are chestnuts, and then so are these little guys that we saw earlier. Pretty cool. So there you go. So that's what they grow into, and these guys are almost ready to be harvested. So these will probably get harvested today. And then some other cool mushrooms that we have. So here are some piopinos. So you can see they're very similar to chestnuts. They have a long stem that's delicious to eat. But then you also have some caps that come up top. And again, these are pretty prime for harvest as well. So. And the last fun ones, so we'll show golden oysters, which are some favorites as well. So here's what a baby golden oyster mushroom looks like. So you can kind of see all the little circles and everything that's kind of coming out of it. Those are little pin sets. So it forms a little bit differently than other mushrooms. And
we have another question asking, how many different types of mushrooms do R&R Cultivation grow?
Yeah, so it's like that. Got it. Okay. So we currently grow 12 different species of mushrooms. So if you look on our website, rrcultivation.com, you can actually see all of our mushrooms and all of the different types that we grow here on the farm. So there you go. So those are golden oysters. Each mushroom has its own specific conditions, and they all have a different and unique taste and everything to them. So.
And how many mushrooms will you cultivate for one single bag?
So yeah, good question. So the mushrooms, well, it's basically one species per block. So you don't want two different species competing for the same nutrition. So all of these blocks, if we want to show all the way down here, so all of these blocks are in incubation right now. Okay, so I'll hop around here. So all of these blocks are just waiting to go in the grow rooms, but they're all individual mushrooms. So these are all lion's mane. These are golden oysters. We have blue oysters as we work our way down, but it's one species per block that we make.
What's the hardest type of mushroom to grow, or is there a harder type?
Yeah, the hardest type of mushrooms to grow. I would say probably chestnuts and piopinos are pretty difficult. Every mushroom is okay. I mean, they're easy to grow once you know how to grow them. And I think that's the hardest thing is every single strain that you get, every single different kind of species that you receive in, because you can have blue oysters that are this strain and also blue oysters that are this strain, and they're both blue oysters, but one species may grow at 75 degrees and one species may grow at 60 degrees. And one might require 85% humidity, one might require 95% humidity. So I don't think growing mushrooms is hard. I think perfecting it is probably the most difficult thing.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, on average, how long does it take to grow until it's ready to be harvested?
So how long does it take to grow until it's ready to be harvested? So that depends on each mushroom. So we have ones like shiitakes, which we're going to go in and see next. So shiitakes will take, once they're ready, they take less than a week usually to fruit. But then you have, but shiitakes, when they're sitting on this shelf, shiitakes take between 8 to 10 weeks it's called incubate, to colonize the bag. So they take a very long time on the backside. Once you get them in the grow rooms, they fruit very quickly. But then you have ones like chestnuts that we saw in there. Those take 3 to 4 weeks to kind of come out and to grow. So each one is just a tiny bit different.
Right. And if
so
you want
Nick,
to keep
we have
going,
about 5 minutes left. So if you would want to get us to that next grow room and show us the shiitakes growing, that would be awesome.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, so every room has a very similar setup. You can actually stay out there. I'll bring it out here. So this is a shiitake block. So you can actually see all the mushrooms growing on this block. So this is one 10-pound block, and this will get us about 2 to 2.5 pounds of mushrooms. Some mushrooms will fruit, it's called fruiting. That's what this is, so one harvest or one fruiting. We do shiitakes once, and then other species we'll do 2 times. So I'm gonna cruise through and show you a couple more species before our time is up here. Man, a half hour went by quick, right? Okay. All right. I'll grab one out again. All right. So this is lion's mane. So you can see this has a whole bunch of kind of furry stuff that comes off the top. They're called teeth. This is how we know this block is ready to be harvested. So this one, actually, when you pull it apart, it comes apart in strings and can have a consistency of like a lobster or a crab. It's very fun. And then last one, I'm gonna run and grab a block real quick, so hang on. So these are blue oyster mushrooms. So these are what we grow a lot of. Oyster mushrooms are the easiest to grow because they colonize quickly, and they also grow in about 1.5 to 2 weeks. So there we go. I'll go put this away. All right. So as we're walking back up front, are there any other questions I can answer before I show you the last part of the tour here?
Yeah, someone asks about the health benefits of eating mushrooms.
Yeah, the health benefits. So mushrooms naturally are rich in protein. So about 25% of a mushroom is protein, and they're mostly carbs and protein, so they're very nutritious. But there's a whole bunch of health aspects to mushrooms that are still being discovered. Lion's mane is actually being researched right now it's been proven to restore nerve and neurological pathways. So it's actually being used to help find a cure for things like Alzheimer's or other neurological or nerve disorders. So we're just scratching the surface. Besides them tasting delicious and being nutritious, low in fat, they're just very, it'll be interesting to see what else comes out definitively on what mushrooms can do for us in our bodies.
Yeah. And someone else asks, what kind of brought you to mushrooms and starting your own mushroom business? Yeah,
so what brought me to mushrooms? I would say, so I went back to school and I got my master's, and I wanted to, I really wanted to do something that made me happy in my life. I knew I wanted to start a business. I had gone to a few farmers markets, and they're just full of agriculture as a whole is just full of really, really good people. And so I was like, okay, let's, Lance, who's our co-founder here, he kind of introduced mushrooms into the mix, and that's where I kind of took it and ran with it. But it's just more of a passion for finding nutritious foods that are able to be grown locally, that are certified organic. So finding some just really, you have to be able to sell your product. So if you can make this great product but not move it anywhere, then it really doesn't do any good for the community. But that's where our mission is we really want to get nutritious food accessible locally here. So
speaking of that, Nick, we have just a couple minutes left, but how can viewers or anybody get your mushrooms? Where can they find them? Well, first of all, tell us how you get them ready to be sold, and then where we could buy them.
Sure. So let's go over this way into the wholesale room real quick. We get them ready in our wholesale room here. So that's back in here. Gabby's doing so good on the camera. So this is our wholesale room. So you can see we use an overwrapping machine right now. All of our tills are We use compostable tills, so we're working towards a system that's 100% compostable packaging. For right now, if you want to just back out, yeah. There. So these are what the finished product looks like. So the mushrooms are put in here, placed inside of those, and then they're wrapped up. So you can see king trumpets, and we have a slicer out front. And these are those blue oysters that we saw in the middle of the tour too.
And we have some pictures, Nick, of that Ellie, one of the Wayzata students, took at Lunds and Bylerys. So if we could, yep, there they are. You can look at those quick. So if you are at a Lunds and Bylerys, there they are, golden oysters and lion's mane. So very cool.
Yep, we have golden oysters and lion's mane. Go back over here. We're in all of the Lunds and Bylerys in the Twin Cities, plus most of the local co-ops. But also in the summertime, once we get vaccinated and we can be safe, there's a whole bunch of farmers markets where you can support us, and you can support a whole bunch of other people who are just as passionate about I am about supplying fresh food locally. So farmers markets are just a wonderful outlet, and it's a really fun experience.
So I have one final question for you, Nick. What is your favorite part about growing mushrooms?
Oh, my favorite part about growing mushrooms, I would say is I keep going back to fulfilling our mission here at R&R. So being able to have a business that runs, being able to provide a living for our 16 employees here, we took on our own minimum wage of $15 an hour for anyone who starts here. So just building a business ethically, how we really want it to be run, while at the same time providing a local product and a local service that people actually need to feed themselves and to be healthy. So I think my favorite part about growing mushrooms is just doing good for our employees and for the people that eat our mushrooms. It makes me so happy to come into work every day.
Well, that is a fantastic answer. So I want to just say a huge thank you to you, Nick, and to your co-owner, Lance, who's helped us organize this. And also a big thank you to the Wayzata High School students. I think Siri did a great job as our host today. Ellie was great on technology. Check out the teacher resources that the rest of the team assisted with. The link is in the comment section, but there's a Kahoot that they created, some worksheets that look at the different types of mushrooms and what they taste like. Like I said, Reggie is the featured chef in a recipe that they show and created a video on how to do that. So the link, like I said, check that out, educators. Also, we are planning in February, instead of a virtual field trip, we're going to do a whole week of exciting book events. So we're having 16 different guest readers who will be reading books, and classes can register and interact with those readers. And also our ag mags, if you're not familiar, we have magazines for all K through 6 grade levels. Our fall issues went out in October. We're getting ready to send out our spring issues. So if you are a teacher or an educator and want either the print magazines, you can subscribe to those. They're free. Or also we have a website, mnagmag.org, that has all of the content digitally for students to access. So thanks again, everyone, for joining us. Hopefully you have a great snowy Friday, and we hope to see you back here in February. Thank you. Thanks again, Nick.